Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today I have a book tag for you, and unlike the other book tags, it's one I've made. Well, I've attempted to make a book tag. So this is my summer flowers book tag. I have 10 flowers and you have to get books that go with these flowers. Let's begin. Flower 1, Rose. A character who is often cruel to be kind. For this I've chosen Granny Weatherwax, and I've just chosen Carpe Jugulum as an example of a book that she's in because she's in all of the witches books. And Granny Weatherwax is one of my favourite characters. If you haven't seen my book review of Carpe Jugulum, that link is above me now because I was in tears just worrying about Granny because she's just so good. Like, she's cruel, but to be kind. She's actually really nice, whereas Nanny Ogg is often cruel, but is seen as the kind one. They're really good examples of society, how they see people compared to how that person actually is. They're the complete opposites in that Nanny Ogg is like seen as really friendly and all of this, but she actually doesn't help that many people, whereas Granny Weatherwax helps everyone and yet everyone is afraid of her. Carpe Jugulum by Terry Pratchett. I'll read you guys the blurb for this. Mightily Oates has not picked a good time to be a priest. He thought he'd come to Lancre for a simple ceremony. Now he's caught up in a war between vampires and witches. There's young Agnes, who is really in two minds about everything. Margaret, who is trying to combine witchcraft and nappies. Nanny Ogg. And Granny Weatherwax, who is big trouble. And the vampires are intelligent. They've got style and fancy waistcoats. They're out of the casket and want a bite of the future. Mightily Oates knows he has a prayer, but he wishes he had an axe. Really good. I have a book review for this. That link is above me now. Flower 2, Daffodil. A character who is hated by most, but is necessary to the plot or the protagonist. For this, I chose Smeagol or Gollum from Lord of the Rings. I've got the Return of the King here, mainly because my other two copies don't have a sleeve, so this is the easiest one for you guys to see for this, and also the only one I have that has a blurb. I should have also said Return of the Kings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I kind of presume we don't need to say it. Lord of the Rings, Smeagol. Smeagol is so vital to Frodo. He guides Frodo and Sam to Mordor. Without him, they would have been caught long ago. However, he is not good. He has been tainted by the ring, so he is hated by everyone except Frodo. So a character who is hated by most, but important to the protagonist and also important to the plot, because without him, they would never reach Mordor. I know this is the third in the series, but if you're watching this as a bookworm and you haven't watched the Lord of the Rings movies or read the books, then you may not be a epic fantasy fan or into older books, so you might not mind the spoilers, but I think everyone knows what happens, so I'll read you guys the blurb for Return of the King. The companions of the ring have become involved in separate adventures as the quest continues. Aragorn, revealed as the hidden heir of the ancient kings of the West, joined with the riders of Rohan against the forces of Isengard, and took part in the desperate victory of the Hornburg. Merry and Pippin, captured by orcs, escaped into Fangorn Forest and there encountered the Ents. Gandalf returned miraculously and defeated the evil wizard Saruman. Meanwhile, Sam and Frodo progressed towards Mordor to destroy the ring, accompanied by Smeagol Gollum, still obsessed with his precious. After a battle with the giant spider Shelob, Sam left his master for dead, but Frodo is still alive, in the hands of the orcs. And all the time the armies of the Dark Lord are massing. I actually love the blurb for Return of the King because unlike modern blurbs, this tells you nothing about this book. It's just giving you a recap of the Two Towers. Love it. Flower 3, Edible Flowers. Name a book you wanted to dive into to eat what the characters were eating. For this, I chose Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shirley. This is a really easy YA LGBTQ+ romance. Between these two gentlemen here, they have a corgi called Spade, and I love them so much. But the main thing is these mooncakes. Now, our main protagonist works at a family takeaway, and they are trying so hard to recreate the mooncakes that his mother used to make. Oh, and they sound delicious. Not only does the takeaway always sound delicious, but those mooncakes, I mean, look at them in that picture, guys. How good do they look? I do have a review on this, that link is above me now, but let me read you guys the blurb. Love wasn't on the menu. Meet Dylan Tan. He juggles school and delivery runs for his aunt's struggle in Chinese takeout in Brooklyn. Winning a mooncake competition could bring the publicity they need to stay afloat. Enter Theo Summers, a charming, wealthy customer who convinces Dylan to be his fake date to a family wedding full of crazy rich drama. Their romance is supposed to be just for show, but soon Dylan's falling for Theo for real. With the mooncake contest looming, Dylan can't risk being distracted by rich people problems. Can he save his family's business and follow his heart, or will he fail to do both? Really easy read. I wanted to be in this book because I wanted to eat the mooncakes. Flower 4. Garden. A whole garden. Name a book where a garden or plant plays an integral role. I want to use 2 for this, but 1 is quite loose. Mainly want to use 2 because you guys are probably sick of seeing this book at this point. This is The Guest Cat by Takashi Harada, who is a Japanese poet, and it is just such a beautiful read. I don't know what it is about it. I reread it every year. It's so small. But a garden plays a really integral role in this book because the main protagonist gets into the gardening of the old style Japanese home that they live in, and that brings him peace and sort of helps him to rekindle his life with his partner, along with the cat Jibby. Now, you're probably sick of this book, but I'm going to read you guys the blurb anyway. A couple in their 30s live in a small rented cottage in a quiet part of Tokyo. They work at home as freelance writers. They no longer have very much to say to one another. One day, a cat invites itself into their small kitchen. She is a beautiful creature. She leaves, but the next day comes again, and then again, and again. New, small joys accompany the cat. The days have more light and colour. Life suddenly seems to have more promise for the husband and wife. They go walking together, talk, and share stories of the cat and its little ways, play in the nearby garden. But then something happens that will change everything again. The Guest Cat is an exceptionally moving and beautiful novel about the nature of life and the way it feels to live it. The book won Japan's Kiyama Shohei Literary Award and was a bestseller in France and America. A garden's in the blurb. It plays a massively integral role in this book, but I have used this book before, so I am also going to use Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan. This is the second book of the Daughter of the Moon Goddess duology, so if you haven't read that first book, skip to this time here to avoid this blurb and about it because the integral part is near the end. In this book, there is a tree, and that tree literally is the most important thing at the end of this book. They have to stop someone destroying this tree or they will gain its power, and it's the tree on the moon, so it is very, very important. I couldn't stop myself putting the Guest Cat in, because I mean the Guest Cat is basically in every single book tag that I do, but I wanted to make sure there was a new one in there, so I have got a review on this. That link is above me now, or below, because I will run out of things to put above. But let me read you guys the blurb of this one. An unspeakable terror is sweeping across the realm as the Celestial Emperor tightens his grip on power. The fragile peace Xingying fought so hard for when freeing her mother is under threat. Forced to flee her home, Xingying ventures into unexplored lands of the immortal realm to seek aid. However, with alliances shifting quicker than the tides, she has to overcome past grudges and enmities to forge a new path forward, seeking aid where she never imagined. Xingying must uncover the truth of her heart and claw her way through devastation to rise against evil before it destroys everything she holds dear and the world she has grown to love, even if doing so demands the greatest price of all. Ew. It's really good. You guys know I love the Su Lin Tan duology. I'm going to move my water because I can see this going badly. 5. Beautiful but poisonous. Name a character who is not what they seem. For this, I'm going to go with The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. This is Bridget Collins' second novel, and I absolutely loved it. So in this book, we have a romance, and again, spoilers, skip if you haven't read this book, link above me now to the review. But we have a character who is actually a woman and pretending to be a man because a woman is not allowed to do the job that she is doing. And the male protagonist in this falls in love with them as a man and then realizes that they are a woman. There's a lot more to this story than that, but the character is not what they seem at the beginning. Let me read you guys the blurb. At Montvert, an exclusive academy tucked away in the mountains, the best and brightest are trained for excellence in the grandeur, an arcane and mysterious contest. Leo Martin was once a student there, but lost his passion for the grandeur following a violent tragedy. Now he returns in disgrace, exiled to his old place of learning with his political career in tatters. Montfort has changed since he studied there, even allowing a woman, Claire Drayden, to serve in the grandeur's highest office of Magister Ludi. When Leo first sees Claire, he senses an odd connection with her, though he's sure they have never met before. The bond between them is strengthening, but both Leo and Claire have built their lives on lies, and as the legendary Midsummer game draws closer, secrets are whispering in the walls. Woo! Yes, highly recommend this book. I adored it. Number 6, Tulip, a book that takes place in spring. Now, I know I made this book tag, but I really struggled with this one. I have 2, but bear with me. I'm not too sure if either counts, but I tried. I mean, the whole point of a book tag is supposed to be hard, so I made a hard one for myself. The first is Tales of the Celestial Kingdom by Su Lin Tan. This is illustrated book that came after the duology. It's a group of short stories and it's absolutely beautiful. I have got a book review on this one. I'll put a link above me now. It might not be out yet, but it will be. And for me, it all takes place in summer or spring because it's always in the gardens, so it must be hot. So I think this takes place in spring. I'll read you guys the blurb. Su Lin Tan's highly acclaimed best-selling Celestial Kingdom duology is expanded with this new compilation of stories from before, during, and after the events in Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior, all from the perspectives of beloved characters. Tales of the Celestial Kingdom collects 9 spellbinding stories, 2 previously published, 7 original, including the epilogue to the duology. Set in the enchanting world of Su Lin Tan's stunning debut, filled with magic and mythology, friendship and love, these stories intertwine through the past, present, and future of the 2 novels, told from the perspectives of multiple characters including Chang'e, Shijiao, Li Wai, and Wenzai. With beautiful illustrations from Kelly Chong throughout, these wondrous tales make the perfect complement to Su Lin Tan's breathtaking series. So that's one that I think does. Now, the reason I got that one down as well is because my second is Wintersmith by Terry Pratchett. It literally has snow on the cover and says winter. But Wintersmith is Tiffany Aiken dancing with the Wintersmith, which stops spring being able to come. So in my head, it's kind of a tulip because it technically, time-wise, does take place in spring. It's just spring's kind of stopped coming because Tiffany Aiken couldn't stop herself from dancing. Let me read you guys the blurb of this one. Tiffany Aiken put one foot wrong, made one little mistake, and now the spirit of winter is in love with her. He gives her roses and icebergs, says it with avalanches and showers her with snowflakes, which is tough when you're 13, but also just a little bit cool. And just because the Wintersmith wants to marry you is no excuse for neglecting the chores. So she must look after Miss Treason, who's 113 and has far too many eyes, learn the secret of Buffalo, catch Horace the cheese, stop Anagramma Hawkin from becoming an embarrassment to all witches, avoid Nanny Ogg giving her a lecture on sex, stop the gods from seeing her in the bath, Crevens! Oh yes, and be helped by the Nakmak Feagles whether she wants it or not. It's unfair, but Granny Weatherwax says no one ever said it was going to be fair, and if Tiffany doesn't work it all out, there will never be another springtime. A glorious and exuberant fantasy tale, crackling with energy and humour, Wintersmith is the 3rd tale in a sequence about Tiffany Aiken and the Wee Free Men. Yeah, Tulip. Number 7, Wildflowers. Name a book which takes place in your country. Now, I wanted to put in The Devil in the Marshalsea. That picture is just there now. My mom has borrowed that book at the moment, so when I get that back, I'll have it, but at the moment it's borrowed and up north. But that is the story of someone who is in the Marshalsea, which is a debtor's prison in London. So it all takes place in London and I live in the UK. However, I also wanted to include The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik because I actually live in Wales and the main protagonist in this lives in Wales or is from Wales. I wanted to use this one as well. So we have The Devil in the Marshalsea by Antonia Hodgeson. I don't have the book here, so I'm not going to read the blurb for that. But I will read you guys the blurb of The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. The one thing you can never talk about while you're in the Scholarmans is what you'll do when you get out. Not even the richest enclave would tempt fate that way. But that impossible dream has somehow come true for Elle and her classmates. And what's more, She didn't even have to become the prophesied Dark Witch to make it happen. Instead of killing enclavers, she saved them, and now the world is safe for all wizards. Peace and harmony have enveloped all the enclaves of the world. Just kidding. Instead, someone else has picked up the project of destroying enclaves in Elle's stead, and everyone she saved is at risk again with a full-scale enclave war on the horizon. And so the first thing Elle needs to do after miraculously escaping the Scholomance is to turn straight around and find a way back in. I have a review on this series, the link is below me now. Number 8. Waterlily, a book which takes place mostly in or around water. So for this one, I chose Deep Light by Frances Hardinge. I do have a book review on this, that link is below me now, though this might be out before this book review. This is my first Frances Hardinge book and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did give it 4.5 stars out of 5. And it takes place all on the coast or under the sea in submarines, so definitely a water lily. It was very beautifully written. I will definitely be looking out for her books in the future, so let me read you guys the blurb. The underwater gods of the Myriad were as real as the coastlines and currents, and as merciless as the winds and the whirlpools. Then one day they rose up and tore each other apart, killing many hundreds of islanders and changing the Myriad forever. On the jumbled streets of the island of Ladies' Crave live Hark and his best friend Jelt. They are scavengers, living off their wits, diving for relics of the gods, desperate for anything they can sell. But now there is something restless stirring beneath the waves, calling to someone brave enough to retrieve it. Something valuable, something dangerous. Nothing is quite as it seems, and when the waves try to claim Jelt, Hark will do anything to save him and the islands that he loves, even if it means a death-defying journey into the strange dark light of the undersea to face not only who his friend has become, but what. Something I do really want to point out in this book is it has great representation of deaf characters, which just before I read this book, I was thinking, why aren't there more deaf characters in books? It would be so easy to represent. Apparently Frances Hardinge was thinking the same as me. Fantastic representation in here. Number 9. Foxglove. Name a murder mystery book or a book murder has taken place. Now for this, I actually have 2. One I won't read you guys the blurb for, and that is Olive Grove in Ends by Moses Mackenzie. I lent this one to Matt's mum. We were about to get it back, but his dad wants to read it now, so still don't have the book copy, but I have got a review, that link is below me now. This book takes place in Bristol and has multiple murders in it, so that is one. But the second book, I should probably point out, you don't need to do 2 in this book tag. It's supposed to be 1 book. I'm just greedy. So the second book I wanted to include, An Olive Grove and Ends, was a book club read, and this was also a book club read. It is The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey, and this was the book club read for this month. I have got a review of this one coming out. It's not my favourite, but it was well written and it is an interesting read, so I did give it 4 stars out of 5. Now, this one, a murder takes place because it is based in the time of the Yorkshire Ripper, which you are not, if you're not from the UK, the Yorkshire Ripper was someone who was around in the 70s. They were a murderer who was only murdering women, and they began with prostitutes, but it was basically any woman was in danger, and it took the police so long to catch him. It basically has gone down in history because of the Yorkshire Ripper, women are still scared to go out at night and people are still told to be wary of everyone and anyone, and it was just a mess. So it's based in that time period, so a murder does take place, and our 2 protagonists are trying to find the Ripper. They're children, they're trying their best, but it's actually about the community that they live in. So let me read you guys the blurb. Yorkshire, 1979. Maggie Thatcher is Prime Minister, drainpipe jeans are in, and Miv is convinced that her dad wants to move their family down south because of the murders. Leaving Yorkshire and her best friend Sharon simply isn't an option, no matter the dangers lurking round their way, or the strangeness at home that started the day Miv's mum stopped talking. Perhaps if she could solve the case of the disappearing woman, they could stay after all. So Miv and Sharon decide to make a list of all the suspicious people and things down their street. People they know, people they don't. But their search for the truth reveals more secrets in their neighborhood, within their families, and between each other than they ever thought possible. What if the real mystery Miv needs to solve is the one that lies much closer to home? It's a very fast read, and it did make me cry twice, so it's well written. A murder takes place. And finally, number 10, Lavender. Show your best smelling book. Now, I can't be the only bookworm that smells books, because they do just smell so good. Now, I have too many books to honestly sit here and smell them all. So I'm going to sniff a few and stop when I get to one that smells divine, okay? Let's start. Let's begin. Oh, that one's good. That one is definitely a contender. This feels like it would be easier to categorize, and it depends what type of smell you want. For old book smell, Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. I've literally just grabbed books that are within arm's reach of me. Pratchett's will definitely smell like this, because it's just the musky, old book smell. That's what this smells like. So this is one that I will read this year. I really need to get onto that. This is a rare and utterly engaging story. It tells the extraordinary tale of a geisha summoning up a quarter century from 1929 to the post-war years of Japan's dramatic history and opening a window onto a half-hidden world of eroticism and enchantment, exploitation and degradation. Yeah, I love the movie of this. I need to read the book. I also chose... so this is a paperback new book. So the new paperback book smell, like slightly gluey but not overpowering. This is If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genki Kawamura. It is a Japanese literature translated book. And this young man's days are numbered, estranged from his family, living alone with just his cat Cabbage for company. He is unprepared for the doctor's diagnosis that he only has months to live. But before he can set about tackling his bucket list, the devil appears with a special offer. In exchange for making one thing in the world disappear, he can have one extra day of life. And so begins a very bizarre week. Because how do you decide what makes life worth living? How do you separate out what you can do without from what you hold dear? In dealing with the devil, our narrator will take himself and his beloved cat to the brink. This is going to be a tearjerker, and I know it. Final smell. I'm going to do a hardback. A new hardback book. Again, it's like slightly gluey, but it's not an overpowering one. I do have some books that smell absolutely awful. This one's good. I do have a review coming out of this book, but it's not out yet. Let me read you guys the blurb. Chani was not born a monster, but when her own father offers her in sacrifice to the demon witch, she is forever changed. Cursed with a serpent's face, Chani is the exact opposite of her beautiful sister Vanna, the only person in the village who looks at Chani and doesn't see a monster, the only person she loves and trusts. Now 17, Vanna is to be married off in a vulgar contest that will enrich the coffers of the village leaders. Only Chani, who's had to rely on her strength and cunning all these years, can defend her sister against the cruelest of the suitors. But in doing so, she becomes the target of his wrath, launching a grisly battle royale, a quest over land and sea, a romance between sworn enemies, and a choice that will strain Chani's heart to its breaking point. So this is the story before the Six Crimson Cranes. This is our protagonist from Six Crimson Cranes' stepmother's story, and it made A Dragon's Promise, the second book in the duology, so much better, because I wasn't sure about that book, but after reading this, I now want to reread it, so it's good. My books don't fit. And that's it for my Summer Flower book tag. I mean, I'm not even going to try to pick this up for you guys. It's a big hefty pile, but this is my summer book tag. If you guys would like to do this tag, please do so. I tag all of you. I would tag other bookstagrammers, but I don't know if they would do the tag, to be honest, at this point. I'll try, but please do this tag if you would like to. These are the books, so I'm not going to pick them all up. We have a rose, A character who is often cruel to be kind is Granny Weatherwax, and I've used Carpe Jugulum. Daffodil, a character who is hated by most but necessary to the plot or protagonist. I've got Smeagol/Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Edible flowers, name a book you wanted to dive into to eat, what the characters were eaten. I've got Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shirley. Then we have garden, name a book where a garden or plant plays an integral role. You can't see it, but I have The Guest Cat by Takeshi Hirade. And Heart of the Sun Warrior by Su Lin Tan. Beautiful but Poisonous, name a character who is not what they seem. I chose The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. Tulip, a book that takes place in spring. I have Tales of the Celestial Kingdom by Su Lin Tan and Wintersmith by Terry Pratchett. Wildflowers, name a book which takes place in your country. I have The Devil in the Marshalsea and The Golden Enclaves by Naomi Novik. Waterlily, a book which takes place mostly in or around water. I have Deep Light by Frances Hardinge. Foxglove, name a murder mystery book or a book in which murder takes place. I have The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey and also An Olive Grove in Ends by Moses Mackenzie. And finally, Lavender, show your best smelling books. I have Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden, If Cats Disappeared from the World by Genkai Kawamura, and Her Radiant Curse by Elizabeth Lim. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this book tag. If you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you like to see as soon as I upload, click the little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or Tumblr. I post bookish pictures as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!